What's up? What's up, people? How you doing? This video is partially inspired by one of Brownsburg's recent videos, and I'm going to post a link to his video in the video description box underneath, where he speaks about this man in the picture that you see right here. His name is Bryan Kohberger. And Bryan Kohberger, a lot of you guys should remember his face because a couple of months ago he was all over the news because he suspected of stabbing 4 people to death in the state of Idaho. And now the FBI allege that this suspect was an incel, or is an incel, in which, according to the FBI, they have evidence that he was participating on online forums, in online forums that dealt with those who are incels. Now, it's interesting because a lot of mass killings that have happened in America within the past few years have been associated with those who are accused of being incels, thus giving this way of thinking that a lot of incels are in danger of becoming mass shooters in America out of anger of them not being able to get any sex or any type of romantic connection with the opposite sex. And the thing is that when it comes to that way of thinking that people are starting to have, I think that that way of thinking is preventing people from looking at a deeper issue concerning incels. That is if incelism, for lack of a better word, is the motivation behind these mass shootings. Because I have multiple theories behind a lot of mass shootings. One theory I have that I've held for years is that a lot of these mass shootings are products of CIA mind control. Look up Project MK Ultra if you don't know what CIA mind control is. I believe that when it comes to some of these mass shootings, that the killer is a product of hypnosis performed by the CIA. Once again, look up Project MK Ultra, the letter M, the letter K, dash Ultra, if you don't believe me. And that these mass shooters were on some Manchurian candidate shit in which they were products of mind control by the CIA and sent to kill people within the population in order to put the population, or the American population, in a position of fear that would convince the American population to change certain laws that would decrease the civil liberties of the American people, especially when it comes to gun control. Because when it comes to a lot of these mass shootings that we see on the media, that we hear about on the media, what's the next conversation that people talk about? Oh, we need an assault weapons ban. We need more gun control. We need this control. We need to change the laws concerning the rights to bear arms. When in reality, the problem when it comes to these mass shootings has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. It has a lot to do with the mindset of these individuals. Because, of course, a gun itself cannot cannot cause harm unless if the person who's pulling the trigger chooses to cause harm, right? Exactly. But if that theory is not true, let's just say if the theory that I have about a lot of these mass shootings are government conspiracies or MK Ultra's mind control subjects, let's just say that a lot of these shooters or a lot of these mass killers are incels, right? Now, even though I'm talking about mass shooters, let's understand that this specific individual that you see in the screen right here, Bryan Kohberger, he did not use a gun in order to allegedly kill the 4 people that he's accused of killing. He used a knife. right? So what are we going to do? Get rid of knives and shit? But back to the topic. Even though Bryan Kohberger allegedly used a knife as his weapon of choice to supposedly or allegedly murder these four individuals, but the fact of the matter is that a lot of mass killings that have been associated with the suspect being an incel, the suspect's weapon of choice was a gun. So therefore, in this video, I'm going to speak about mass shootings in general. I'm not just going to stick to just this Bryan Kohberger situation. I'm going to speak about mass shootings and mass killings in general, right? So if the theory is true about the motivation of a lot of these mass shooters or mass killers was that they're incels and they're angry at society because they have failed to produce or maintain romantic relationships with the opposite sex. Therefore, they take their anger out on society and start killing innocent people. If that theory is true, once again, I think that this is a thing where society is only looking at the symptom of a problem instead of looking at the root causes that caused the problem to exist in the first place. Because if you want to get rid of a problem or if you want to get rid of disease, you don't just look at the symptoms. You have to look at the root causes of that problem in order to make that problem go away. So whenever people associate incels to a lot of mass killers, they're not really confronting the actual root causes of these mass killings. That once again, that is if incelism, for lack of a better word, is the motivation behind a lot of these mass killings. Because if you want to look at I think that people just looking at the symptoms when they do that. So if you want to look at the root causes that make these problems, that cause these problems, such as mass killings, once again, that is if incelism, for lack of a better word, is the main motivation behind these killings. You have to look deeper in what the root problem is. Therefore, you have to look deep within the incel problem. Because if you look deep within the incel problem, if you do your research on incels and you look deep within the incel problem, right, you'll see that the biggest issue with the incel is that he felt neglected by society. That's really what the main issue with the incel. I mean, aside from the fact that a lot of incels tend to be very mentally ill, a lot of incels tend to, unfortunately, they tend to be socially awkward as a result of their mental illness that they haven't gotten any help for. And a lot of incels tend to go through some traumatic things in life, which causes their mental illness to appear, right? But a lot of incels always felt neglected by society. For one, if you look at the environment, the household that a lot of these incels grew up in, a lot of them grew up in single mother households without, for the most part, having any relationship with their biological father. So now that's a big handicap right there when a boy does not have a proper male role model in the house that he could model himself after. So he's missing that father's love. That's one form of neglect. And usually a lot of these incels have overbearing and abusive mothers, which is the single mother that they was raised with throughout most of their lives, right? And not only that, but let's look at the macro environment that a lot of males live in America, and let's see the neglect of males in this case. Because when you look at the public education system in the United States, you'll see a neglect of the boys. As a result, boys within the grades K through 12 in America's public school system are performing worse than their female counterparts, mainly because the way the curriculums in a lot of the public schools are being taught is not catering to how boys retain information. Because it is proven that boys in school perform better academically when they're in a hands-on environment in which a lot of classes within the U.S. public education system is not based on a hands-on environment. Thus, it does not cater to the energetic, very active young boy in America. And also other factors too results in a lot of boys performing poorly in public schools. Thus, you see a neglect of boys within the public school system. I already pointed out the neglect of a lot of boys who were raised without a father and an overbearing single mother. That's neglect, right? Now let's look at the neglect in other aspects of society, such as places of employment. Now, not too long ago, I put out a video showing an article in which more than 2 million men in America are non-existent in America's workforce. So less and less males in America are employed. And not only that, but there's studies out there that show that the average working American male today, their salary is less than the average working American male of 30 years ago. So on average, not only males are not only are there less males that participating within the workforce, but the males who are already participating in the workforce is proven on average to make less money than they did 30 years ago. Meanwhile, the female who's participating in the workforce, the average American female participating in America's workforce, their income is increasing. So what you see what you see in that example is a neglect of males within America's economy. Then you have certain laws in America that make America's male feel as if there is an imbalance of power between males and females, in which females have more power in that area. Where when it comes to accusations of sexual abuse, even an accusation alone can ruin a male's life. If a male is just accused of sexual abuse, if he's accused of rape, if he's accused of sexual harassment, if he's accused of sexual battery or groping or touching a female the wrong way, he's in jail. His reputation is ruined. He loses his job. His career is ruined. For example, look at actor Jonathan Majors and what he's going through right now because of just an accusation. And when you look at laws such as different laws concerning divorce, different laws concerning alimony, different laws concerning child, different laws across America concerning child custody, a lot of the time the female has the advantage. So you even see in places of law, the male is being neglected. So what you're seeing is this environmental neglect of males in American society. And maybe, just maybe, this environmental or societal neglect of males is causing more and more males to become very angry, to become as if they're not accepted and loved in society, which might motivate them to cause these horrific crimes. Now, by no means am I trying to justify people committing heinous crimes. Because at the end of the day, if you commit a crime, you deserve to be punished. You do the crime, you do the time, right? But not only do people who commit a crime deserve to be punished, but society have to look at how to prevent the same crime from happening again. And in order to do that, we have to look at what are the main environmental causes for these crimes to happen. So therefore, if these mass shootings, like I said before, if these mass shootings are not products of CIA mind control / MK Ultra test subjects, like I believe, and if these shootings are motivated by incels feeling left out of place in society, then we have to look at whether or not males in society are being left out of place in different aspects of society. And when we look at that, we see evidence of this. So I think that when it comes to a lot of these crimes that a lot of young men tend to do, if they're not products of CIA mind control, we have to look at if there's something within the environment that's causing these males to be neglected, that is causing them to do these crimes. Because by just putting the incel label on a lot of these males, and I'm not saying that people like Bryan Kohberger is definitely not an incel. He might be an incel. But once again, when it comes to incels, it's a deeper problem than just these males not being able to form romantic relationships with the opposite gender. It deals with a lot of them being neglected. So I hope that this video opens the eyes of a lot of people and understand the societal and environmental neglect that is rising in a lot of America's men that may have a hand in causing a lot more men to commit crimes like these. So, I'm done with this video. Once again, this was inspired by a video created by a YouTuber by the name of Bronzebird. So if you have not subscribed to Bronzebird's YouTube channel, I suggest you guys do. He has a very interesting channel. So tell me what you guys think. Peace.